Hey folks, welcome back to Fresh Produce. I'm Pete from BTI. I just got back from the Sea Otter Classic and I just wanted to take an episode to run through some of the cool new products we saw at the show. There was a lot of new launches and new releases, but here's a few that apply to our catalog. So want to dive right in with an exciting selection from 5Dev. We've got their new downhill and freeride crank, which does lose a little bit of the 5Dev flair with no giant cutouts, but you gain a ton of strength, and I still think it has a really nice, unique 5Dev look to it. So check those things out if you're really pushing the boundaries on your bike and you want all the strength you can muster. They've also got new titanium rings for 104 BCD crank. This was kind of applicable to e-bikes. Titanium chain rings for an e-bike, maybe you don't need the weight savings, but you do need a ton of durability on those bikes where you're really kind of constantly spinning and putting a lot of watts through the chain coming out of that motor. So these chain rings are going to last at least 3 times as long as a standard chain ring in aluminum, and nice little bling factor to them as well. They're of course also doing titanium in a direct mount chain ring for traditional bikes. Wow, these things look incredible. The color, the thin profile, they're just super, super unique and really awesome looking. So tie chain rings in a couple of different fitments from 5Dev. All right, speaking of chain rings, let's move along to Wolftooth, the new product machine. They've always got new stuff coming out, and of course Sea Otter was no disappointment. So they launched their new dropper lever, the Remote Pro version. It sure looks quite similar to their regular remote. And their remote was one of our best-selling dropper levers. Had tons of adjustments, sealed cartridge bearing, really awesome ergonomics on the thumb paddle. And they've just kind of even gone to improving that. So they've offered even more adjustment range in terms of how it bolts onto your mount. Of course, there's several different mounts available, everything from the regular bar clamp, SRAM, Shimano, and a wide variety of other things in there too. So on top of that, you can now adjust where the lever sits when it's not being actuated. With this bolt here on the bearing surface essentially, and you've got markings for how many degrees off of centered you are. The big change to this one, and I think something that really deserves a little bit more discussion, is they've changed the shape of the surface that actually pulls the cable. So as you start here with the lever in kind of the closed position, it's going to give you a lot of leverage on that cable. So it's overcoming the force that dropper posts usually have as you're kind of breaking through that hydraulic cartridge, breaking through all the seals, being static. So you get a lot of force at the beginning, and then the shape changes as you go through the stroke of the lever. So you're gonna just pull more cable and basically have to push that lever a little less far. So they used to have a short and long version depending on how much force you needed to overcome, how much you wanted to move your thumb through the stroke of the post, stroke of the lever. Now there's just one version, and it kind of has the benefits of both. You're really overcoming a ton of force at the beginning of the lever throw, and then having just a short movement throughout afterwards. So really cool kind of next step on the Wolftooth Dropper Pro remote. The other really big piece of news to go along with this is their old dropper remote is going down in price. So if you love that thing, now you can get it at an even better price. It really makes that old lever an extremely competitive, top of the line option on the market. And now there's even a more premium version at the same price as the old one. So pretty cool one. We don't want to forget about some of the other new releases that Wolftooth let sort of fly under the radar during Sea Otter. First of all, a new chainring that fits TQ motors. They've got fitment for both kind of traditional chains as well as Shimano HG Plus chains, and a bunch of their chain rings are switching over to be specifically fit for the SRAM flat top or transmission type chains, and that'll work with all of your 10, 11, 12 speed older regular chains as well. So take a look for that if you have a bike with a TQ motor. The other kind of unique piece is a little center lock ring with the splines on the internal side of the ring. This one just uses cassette tool, fits right into those splines, but this is going to help on some of those tight fitments on some road and gravel bikes where your traditional lock ring, this is just the old version, wouldn't fit. Okay, so just a couple pieces to round out their line. I'm sure they've got so many more in the pipeline. Wolf Tooth always does. Now, taking a minute to talk about some updates on MRP Chain Guides. I think this may have been sort of announced at a show previous to Sea Otter, but it was the first time we really saw it. So here's a new version of their AMG SL, and these changes kind of carry over to the whole line. So I've also got their tiny little trail guide here and a carbon backplate, but kind of wanted to run through some of the details. The big one is this angled screw here. I believe it uses a 2.5 mil Allen, but you can reach that in behind your chainring without taking the chainring or crank off and make adjustments. So you can get everything bolted up on the bike, loosen this and slide the guide up or down to make the fine adjustments to fit your chainring size, and then tighten it down. It'll be locked in place. They still have this really cool feature where the whole side of it pops up, allowing you to remove the chain or install a chain without, again, taking off the crank, the chain guide, losing all your adjustments. So that's a really nice little feature. Takes a bit of force. You don't want that to happen on the trail, but nice to have that option to open up and close without disassembling your whole crank set. Another piece of the adjustment they've got on this one is this little screw right in the front. This allows adjustment inboard and outboard, so you can match the chain line of your bike. Again, basically you can get this thing bolted up, then do all these fine adjustments, where in the past a lot of chain guides took a ton of fiddling to get things just right. So pretty cool. This one now fits a bigger range. There used to be two versions. Now it's one version that fits both, so that's good for skew management at the shop level. This one goes from 28 tooth all the way to 36 teeth. So that's covering just about all of us out there, with a slightly different bash to cover those sizes as well. So just little updates on the MRP Chain Guide series, but I think they're really well thought out and pretty cool options. Here's another one that happened, I think, just outside of the show because OneUp wasn't there, but here is a new pedal that they just announced, the Comp Pedal in a small size. So this is aimed at riders with a size 6.5 shoe and below, so probably mostly kids, but I think it could apply to some other folks too. I brought out the old Comp Pedal just for comparison size-wise. You can see it's pretty substantial. It really is gonna match a smaller foot really well. And another kind of cool update or little piece of this is they are adding these friendly pins on there. They're basically just a cover over the thin threaded pin that make them a little less damaging to your shin if you did slip a pedal, as you're still getting used to riding the bike and learning for those younger riders. And those covers are removable, so once you get more aggressive and you're ready for the standard super grippy pin, you're ready to roll. All right, last but not least, let's talk about some new saddles from WTB. Man, they have such a history of saddles in the industry. They've been go-to for so many of us for so many years. And a lot of their models have carried on for a big portion of that time. They've sort of stepped away from their old framework of thinking and are offering here the new Gravelier. It's a lot less padding, and they've done a ton of work to tune the flex of the shell on this. So you're still gonna get the same great comfort as you would on a other WTB saddle, but lighter weight, just really tuned for its specific use. Of course, this one's called the Gravelier, so made for drop bar bikes or those longer rides where you are in the saddle a long time. Still have some vibration coming through, so comfortable for the long rides, maybe in a lower position. They've got a cutout that goes all the way out to the front of the saddle, so accommodating some lower body positions. Getting a great lightweight with this one, and of course available in a variety of different rails and padding versions to accommodate different budgets too. So check out that Gravelier for your drop bar bike. And the other one is the Devo. Now they've used the name Devo before, but this is definitely a different saddle. As you can see, it's got a big cutout in the back. This is really just made to be a handle. The idea of this saddle is aimed at e-bikes or heavier bikes where you might need to pick this thing up to load it in onto your vehicle rack or pick it up on the trail. Just giving you a really sturdy, easy place to latch onto and pick that thing up. It really is just disappears once you're sitting on the saddle. You're not going to feel that edge. The rest of the saddle is more like a standard setup with a little bit of the aim at an e-bike rider, so a little bit of a whale tail, the WTB signature kickback on the back of the saddle, push against as you're pedaling up steeper grades. And I think that really covers it with the Devo aimed at e-bikes, but I think it will work for a lot of other riders too. So there was so much other cool stuff. Check out our other coverage and video, photos, drops from Sea Otter as well. We saw a ton of cool bikes and it was great connecting with the industry out there. If you want to check out any of the parts you saw on our show today, make sure you ask at your local bike shop and tell them BTI sent you.